This week at the Jam Session, we had lots of laughs, followed up by a damn good time with one of the baddest up-and-coming comedians to ever touch the mic. All the way live from Brooklyn, New York, Chanel Ali. We had radio host Dennis the Menace put her mic skills to the test in this special edition of Jam Session.
Another week of Jam Session. Another person to interview. Chanel Ali.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself. I'm going to give you guys a heads up. She's a comedian. And the first question is, how'd you get started? And then we'll take it from there.
Okay, well, I'm Chanel. Thank you. I need your help. I don't know how to do this. I'm Chanel Ali. So I'm 29. I'm a stand-up comedian. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I started joking in Philly 4 years ago. I went to an open mic, and my friend was going to be playing the piano there, and I paid $20 to get into this mic. And they said they needed another act, and I was like, well, I already paid $20. Sign me up, you know? And I got on stage, and I just started talking about my life, and people got, really into it, and they were asking me, like, when can we see you again, and when are you going to do this again? And I was like, oh, shit, like, maybe I should do this. This is, like, a thing. But, yeah, I really, like, got bit by the bug of, like, entertainment and making people laugh, and it just felt so good that I was like, I need more and more and more and more. So, yeah.
So when it comes to comedy, it's very difficult. It's unlike any other craft. You have to say the same joke over and over again with the same enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You have to read the crowd. When you read the crowd, whether just like, DJing, you have to change it up. Now, in DJing, they can change it up with a song.
Yeah.
But in your craft of being a comedian, what do you do when you're getting booed or you're bombing the place?
Well, at a certain level, I try to commit to the bit. Like, I know this bit is funny. I'm going to do this bit regardless. But I definitely try to read the room, take a temperature, like, see if there's young people, old people, like, where are they from? What can I joke about that they'll relate to, But stand-up comedy is always like a game of minutes. So every time I get on stage, they're like, you got 10 minutes or you got 15 minutes. So it's like, if I'm halfway through a joke and I'm feeling like this crowd is not really relating to this, I'll try to smoothly transition into something else. But every once in a while, I'll stick it and be like, you guys need this shit and this shit is good. I'm going to finish this joke. And some of you are going to get it, some of you aren't. But I'm going to do it anyway because I know you need to hear it,
So your first time on stage,
Yeah.
you didn't have any jitters because
Oh my God, I had so many jitters.
Yeah, well, tell me about that because it seemed natural for you, right? And when you didn't have so if you did have the jitters,
Yeah.
what did you have to improve on to be a comedian?
Yes.
Because you were already there because you're on stage, and usually it's difficult to even get to that point in itself.
Exactly. I remember walking up to the stage for the first time, and I had no written material. I didn't know what was going to be going on, I had just volunteered for a spot. And I remember looking at my feet as I was walking, and I remember thinking, move your left foot, now your right foot, now move your, I was so focused on getting to the mic and doing it that I wasn't worried about anything else. But I've learned to control the jitters and know that it's just I feel excited because I'm excited about this and it's passionate and it's okay to be nervous, but I have to trust in myself that I know funny and that I know that I'm funny. So I really have focused a lot on breathing, just taking a deep breath and feeling calm. And also just being like, Chanel, you've done this so many times now. You've done this a million times. You know what the worst case scenario is, and you know that you'll be fine. So I'm always coaching myself and reminding myself, go have fun. Go do that thing that makes you feel good,
Now, how do you get your jokes? Is it life experiences? Or if somebody comes up to you and says, I want you to freestyle some jokes, where do you go to get those jokes?
Right. Sometimes I do what's called riffing. Riffing is just making up jokes on the spot because you read the room and you feel like, oh, there's a lot of these kind of people here, or there's a lot of whatever, and I can make a joke and they'll relate to it. But I'm very much a storyteller. I talk about my real life. I talk about what's happened to me, how I felt about it, what I saw today, how I felt about it, what people said to me, how I felt about it. I'm always trying to convey honest emotions because I know that they find the humor and connect with it because I'm coming from a real place. I'm like, I'm upset about this. Get upset with me, Or isn't this ridiculous? Look how ridiculous this is. So I try to be as honest as I can on stage. My on-stage persona is the most honest version of me, I think.
So how does one as a comedian improve on their ability to make people laugh? So it's not like, being a bodybuilder or being a DJ, practice like that. How do you practice in your quiet moments, and how do you, make your craft that much better?
Yeah. From what I've learned, like I said, it's a game of minutes. So it's like, if you wanted to try to be a basketball player and every time you wanted to practice, I said, here's the ball, but you only got 5 to 7 minutes to practice it. And then I'm going to take the ball and you can come back next week and maybe I'll give you another 5, but that's it. You really have to learn how to use your minutes wisely. And a lot of comedians think you can go home and write really good jokes and then just come out and do them and they'll be perfect. That's not reality. The reality is you get better when you're standing on stage with a mic and you don't know what to say and someone has just broken a glass and something unexpected has happened. Like, you get better and you grow when you're challenged to do it on the spot and figure it out, So for me, I write a premise, like I want to talk about this and I don't really know how I feel about it, and then I get on stage and I work it out, I try it like, well, let me talk about this emotion and how I can relate it to people, and if I don't like it, the next week I try a different emotion, like maybe I need to be a little more angry, maybe I need to be a little more open about how I really feel about this thing. But it really comes down to practice, because you can't sit at home and become a comedian. You got to get on stage and try it. That's the only way to get better at this, is when you have the mic in your hand and you're on stage.
What's the difference between a crowd in Toronto and a crowd in Brooklyn? Do you use the same material? Do you have to switch it up? Is there something that you can commonly use between both, or is it something completely different?
It is a little different. I will say that Brooklyn is very progressive. There's a lot of intellectuals, and they want to be challenged. They want you to make them think, So in Brooklyn, I have to come with my hardest hitting material, like my really deep material. I have to get political sometimes. They really want to talk about politics in America right now. They want to be able to laugh about the frustrations about what they see on TV and the political system. So I have to feel really obligated to talk about it and acknowledge it. Whereas here, I feel like I can be a little more lighthearted. I can talk about what I've seen in Toronto and what I've experienced. But I definitely always play the room, I see who's there and I decide what I think they're going to relate to the most, and that's what I give them,
So you're from Brooklyn, you ended up in Toronto. What was your path getting here? Did somebody put you on Toronto?
Yeah.
Do you have a connection out here? Or what is it?
Well, last year I was here for the She Dot Festival, which is a women in comedy festival, and I had such a good time. I was like, man, I really like joking in Toronto. Like, I like Canadian crowds. I feel like Canadians have such more respect for stand-up comedy as an art than some people in America. It's a little like they've seen so much of it that they're a little desensitized. Whereas in Canada, they're like, let's sit down and be quiet and listen and, get ready for this like it's a show. So I was really excited to have the opportunity to come up here for the festival. And after that, like, I've just always been good at coming to a city and booking gigs myself, I know so many people, like I know DJs and I know, actors and models. Yes. I know so many people that I always keep a list and a Rolodex of like, oh, this person is from here. I can call them next time I go there. So I just made a list of everybody I knew in Toronto. I hit them up and said, hey, I'm about to buy a plane ticket. I'm going to come out. If you know of any shows, let me know. And I started, networking, hitting mics, and it just blossomed,
So this is a big question, and this is for all the artists, whether you're a comedian, DJ, singer, actor, whatever. What are some of your struggles getting to this point, right? And give me some of your grimy stuff that really hurt your feelings. Yeah, you're really grimy. I think the people need to hear this, right? Because they see the glimmering glass, you know what I'm saying? So,
I'm excited to tell you. I'll tell you something about myself. When I try and fail, I fail big. I fail hard, So I've done auditions that have been like painful. I've done shows that have been painful. Like, I am bombing so hard right now. But it's like when you bomb really, really hard, you come back that much stronger because you realize, like, this is the worst case scenario, you know what I mean? But when I first moved to New York City, I was so poor. I sold everything I had when I moved to New York City. I sold everything I had in my bedroom, I moved to New York City with a suitcase and a potted plant, and I got off the train. It was like, I live here now, So I had to learn to really let things go and realize that for me to chase this dream, all I need is me. I don't need these physical things. I don't need to have these possessions. And I had to learn to think about money in terms of how can this help me build my craft? How can this help me network and get to shows and things like that. So I had to learn to really reshape my lifestyle to support trying this dream, you know? But in the process of doing that and getting everything aligned, it ignited me. It ignited my confidence. Like, look at you setting these goals and knocking them down. You know, I set a date and was like, I'm going to move to New York City on this date no matter what happens. And I did it, you know, and lots of bad things happened. Lots of unexpected things happened. But I was like, I'm going to stick to this plan.
So if you didn't go on stage that day and didn't find out that you were a comedian eternally, right? What would you have been doing, you think?
I probably would be like a copywriter, someone who writes like commercials. I have a degree in advertising and copywriting. But I think I honestly think I would have ended up there anyway, because it was something I always knew about myself. Even as a little girl, I remember being 7, watching Martin Lawrence, and being like, oh man, I think I am that. I think I'm one of those, and I think I understand what this is, but I had become so like desensitized to the idea of chasing your dreams that I felt like it was irrational to think that I could become that. So for a long time, I wouldn't even allow myself to say it out loud. So I really think that the universe aligns and fate, you know, happens and helps you get to where you're supposed to be. I think I would have got there anyway, but I might have taken a more longer route if someone else hadn't pushed me on stage that one night and really given me the opportunity. Because I remember that night thinking, I want to answer this question from myself. You know, like I know I have this question. Can I do this thing? Let me go and find out, you know? So I felt like I needed to just do it.
So what's next for Chanel Ali? What are you doing next? Your projects, any dreams, immediate dreams? What's going on?
So many things. I recently opened up for Michael Che from SNL, which was incredible in New York City. Like 2 sold-out shows at Caroline's, which is like a huge comedy club there. So that was amazing. And I really want to open up for a lot more celebrities, and I want to travel more and just have the opportunity to show that I can handle being on a bill with them. You know what I mean? Like show like I've been investing in this craft as well. But I'm acting a lot more. I'm working with a lot of different networks right now and like discussing my ideas, so that's exciting that they're even giving me an opportunity. I run a monthly show in Philadelphia every month, and I bring a whole bunch of comedians from New York and all different types of places together for a showcase. And you know, I'm just gigging anywhere and everywhere, and I'm staying on stage. Like I always say, that's just my motto: stay on stage, that's how you get better. But I have a lot of dreams. Like I really want to have, you know, my Comedy Central special and my HBO special, but all those things will come in time, you know? So I'm taking it in stride. Yeah.
So where can people find you? Instagram, any social media? And more importantly, where can they see you on stage?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, Chanel Ali. It's Chanel, like the perfume, and then 2 underscores, and then Ali, like Muhammad. And I also have a website, ChanelAli.com, where I keep like my schedule updated. I have clips. You can see my acting and all the types of anything that I'm working on and where I'm going to be. So I keep that really updated. So ChanelAli.com is the main place to go.
All right, last thing. I want you to think about this question very carefully for a second before I hand you back the mic.
Yes.
I want you to give some shout outs to some very important people that got you to this point, right?
My gosh.
You can't get here by yourself. Somebody have it. So if it's a lot of people, just give me like 3 or 4, because you can't walk away from giving me nobody.
Okay. I definitely got to shout out Michael Che. I got to shout him out because he wanted to put on literally a black woman and have someone open for him, and he really did his homework, you know what I mean? I also got to give a shout out to Mo Betta, DJ Mo Betta, because he was a DJ that I met when I first moved to New York City, and he gave me all types of resources and introduced me to all types of people. It really was very helpful. I also got to shout out the entire Philadelphia community for having my back and really just representing, you know, like to have a hometown that's behind you no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, is really incredible. So I'm so grateful for that community.
I had a wonderful time interviewing you. You're such a good person. You're so funny. And I just met her, and you're full of energy and do your thing. And kudos to you for doing your thing, man. Taking the courage to leave another country, to come here, to leave Philadelphia to go to New York. Yeah, you're very courageous, so kudos to you. So that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Peace.